Hey guys, this is the Halloween Master, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Lemax Spooky Town lineup for 2021. I'm super excited, so without further delay, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the Holiday Contest winner for 2021. And in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Lemax usually has this thing every year where they have all of their fans design all these different pieces. And the winner this year was the Evil Spirits Whiskey Distillery. Now, I really like this piece a lot. It's definitely a really clever idea. I really love the audio to this, especially with the Ireland music to this. It's definitely a really nice touch. The animation on this is pretty good. Yeah, this is probably the most famous piece this year. I really love the ghosts flying around in the background. It's definitely a nice touch. And yeah, definitely a really cool idea. Next up, we have the Carnival of Carnage. This one's probably one of my favorites because I'm just really into like the clowns and carnival type stuff. And this one is definitely one of my favorites. You know, at the bottom, you got the carnival games at the bottom, and at the top you got the spinning wheel. Definitely a really cool design. I really like it. Next up, we have the Ghost Writers Antique Bookstore. This is a bookstore, like it said in the name. There's not really too much to say about this, despite of it being a bookstore. Yeah, I like the house design, and yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Next up, we have the Squeal Street Blues. Now, this seems to me like it could be like a background piece. Like if you have like a city or a town or something in your village, this piece would definitely look good in that. There's basically these two buildings, and they're both like these blues jazz clubs, it looks like. It's not my favorite, but it's not too bad either. Next up, we have one of my favorites, the Skull Cave Quarry. This is definitely a lot of people's favorite. It's definitely one of my favorites as well. This is basically like an island. I really love the skull design on this one, and I also love the buildings on the rocks. It's definitely a really cool design. And it also looks like there's a fog machine option to this, because when I saw the video, it looked like there was a little bit of fog coming out from the entranceway. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. I can't wait to see it. Next up, we have another one of my favorites. This is the Web of Terror Ferris wheel. Usually every year, Lemax usually gives us like an amusement park ride piece. Because last year it was the Pit and the Pendulum, and another year it was the Ghost Around, the spinning ride. I think another year we had one where it was like a jack-o'-lantern carousel or something. But this year it is the Web of Terror Ferris wheel, and this is obviously a Ferris wheel, and it is a spider-themed Ferris wheel. And oh man, this piece just looks so good. I just love the design on the Ferris wheel where it just has the cobwebs. The lighting is very good. I love it how there's skeletons in the car. I just love this piece so much. It definitely would work in like an amusement park theme. I just love it. Definitely one of my favorites. Next up, we have the Zombie Records. Now, I'm not really too crazy about this piece, but I'm also really surprised that this piece doesn't have any audio to it, considering it's like a zombie record store or a music store or something. Yeah, I'm really surprised it doesn't have any like creepy music to it or anything. It's just blank. But that's okay. I still think it's okay. It's not my favorite, but it's not too bad either. Next up, we have the Apparition Academy, and this is basically a school for ghosts. It pretty much just teaches ghosts how to be scary. It's definitely a funny idea. I know Lemax enjoys putting in some humorous stuff into their pieces. Yeah, I really like this one. This one's pretty funny. Next up, we have the Bad Apple Shop. This piece reminds me a lot of the Mad Pumpkin Patch and the the pub and grill last year that we got. And the main reason why it reminds me of that is because of the pumpkin, or I'm sorry, the apple face on the top, because it just looks very similar to, you know, a pumpkin. I love the candy corn thing for the eyes. Definitely a really cool idea. Next up, we have another one of my favorites, the Point Dread Lighthouse. I just love this piece so much because I just love the design of the lighthouse, the face on the top, the monsters circling the lighthouse. Definitely a really cool design. My only complaint with this is the audio to this, because I'm just not a fan of Lemax's audio, because in a lot of pieces, they always do the same audio where they just hear the monsters doing the commentary and just telling you the name of the piece, where like, welcome to so and so, and if you come in you'll be doomed, or you know, like stuff like that. Like, Lemax, you don't have to throw it in our face. Like, just the ambiance is just okay. Like, I just wish that the audio on these pieces were just not really annoying. If I just kind of wish they could have stuck with the ambiance, like just the ocean waves crashing and maybe like some ghost bones, and then that's it. Like, just, yeah. But other than that, I like it a lot. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you guys all the small pieces and the figurines. I'm going to cruise through this really quick because I also want to show you guys the Michaels exclusives. So anyway, let's just get started. So up first, we have Dead in the Water. These are basically these two skeletons fishing. I love how they added a shark into this piece because we don't usually get a lot of shark stuff in Lemax. So I'm glad that they added that. Next, we have a creepy balloon seller. This is basically a clown selling balloons to the kids, which obviously would look pretty good next to the Carnival of Carnage. Next, we have Warming Their Bones. These are basically these three skeleton cowboys that are just sitting by the fire. Next, we have Skeleton Garden Gnomes. I like garden gnomes, and I love skeletons, so combination celebration. Next, we have Scary Scarecrow. This is another one of my favorites because I just think he looks really cool. Next, we have Halloween Cats. It's basically these 5 cats that are dressed up in Halloween costumes. Very cute. Next, we have Undead Groove. It's basically a zombie woman and a skeleton dancing. There's not really too much to say about it. Next, we have Spooky Celebration, which is basically these trick-or-treaters throwing a parade or something. I'm not really sure. We have Reading in Peace, which is this zombie sitting on a tombstone bench, it looks like. Pretty cool. Next, we have Practicing, which is a ghost trying to scare a cat, which would obviously look pretty good next to the Apparitions Academy. Next, we have First Halloween, which are these trick-or-treaters. Pretty classic. Next, we have Checking His Horoscope, which is basically the skeleton reading a newspaper at a lamppost. Not really too much to say about it. Next, we have Skull Karens. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not really sure. It's pretty much just this skull pile with frogs and crows, and that's about it. Next, we have Gothic Well. There's not really too much to say about this one, but I really love the green light inside it. It's definitely a really nice touch. We have Horror Archway, another one of my favorites. We have Jazz Funeral, which is pretty much like this funeral parade, I guess. I'm not really sure. Next, we have Message in a Bottle. This is basically just a skeleton reading a message out of a bottle. It would obviously look pretty good next to the Lighthouse. Next, we have Girls' Night Out on Halloween. It's basically these witches driving a car. We have Tombstone Duo, the Witch Gazebo. I think I like the skeleton gazebo a lot better than the witch gazebo, but that's just me. We got Gargoyle Lampposts, Pumpkin Treehouse, which is definitely one of my favorites. Miss Terry, the bookstore owner. Chains. I sometimes get a chuckle whenever I see that one because I feel like they could have picked a better name besides Chains for this guy, but that's just me. And Free Samples. This is basically a witch giving you candy apples, and it obviously fits in with the Bad Apple Shop. So now we're going to be taking a look at the Michaels exclusives, so let's get started. So up first we have Hilga's Hats. This is basically like a witch house, I guess. I'm not really a big fan of the witches, but if you are, then you'd probably like this piece quite a bit. Next we have the Skull and Rose Tattoo Studio. Definitely a really cool idea. I definitely get a lot of Day of the Dead vibes out of this piece because the skulls on the buildings just look like Day of the Dead stuff to me. It's really a cool idea, and I really like it quite a bit. Next up, we have the Meow Mansion. I like the design of this one. I like how the cat is kind of like the archway of the house. But it's not my favorite, but it's not that bad either. Next up, we have the Horde Haunted Hotel. This is probably my favorite out of the Michaels exclusives. I just love there's just so much I love about this piece with the spinning hourglass and the spinning key. It reminds me a lot of one of those like escape room things, but instead this is a hotel. It's kind of like where you enter the hotel but you can't leave. Definitely a really cool idea. I really like it a lot. Next we have the Witching Hour. I guess this is pretty much like a Witch Tower Castle or something. Again, I'm not really too crazy about the witches because witches aren't really my cup of tea. But I really like the clock on the tower. It's definitely looks pretty cool. But yeah, I'm not really too crazy about this one. Next we have the Witch Gate. This is pretty much like a gate for a cemetery. And next we have Esmeralda the Great. It's pretty much like a witch doing a magic trick. We're getting a lot of witches this year, which is something I'm kind of disappointed about because, like I said, I'm just not really a fan of the witches. But yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of witches, then I guess this is the year for you. Next up, we have another one of my favorites, the Isle of Creepy Jacks. This is pretty much like a pumpkin patch island. Definitely a really cool idea. I really like this design quite a bit. It is very similar to the Skull Cave Quarry because they're both islands. And yeah, and they both have fog coming out of their mouths. It's just a really cool idea. I really like it a lot. Next we have Tattoo Katrina and Kat. She obviously would go with the tattoo studio. And finally we have Jitter Bones Dance Party, which are basically the skeletons dancing. And there you have it. That's the Lemax Spooky Town lineup for 2021. If you guys enjoyed this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And also, let me know, what do you guys think of this lineup? Do you guys have a favorite piece? Do you guys have a least favorite piece? Let me know. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. But overall, that's about it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next one.